Burning the midnight oil, but we are here with you on MLS Playoff Central, the Postgame show, right here every single night of the 2017 Audi MLS Cup playoffs. The knockout round is over, guys. We got too much free soccer tonight. I am a little bit tired. I need some coffee. I skipped it, but the energy is high. We're a little bit punchy. The results were a little bit wacky, and Vicente Sanchez played the hero. So that's the way the night went in MLS. Of course, this is Kalen Carr, host of The Movement. You see him on MLS Soccer all the time. Matt Doyle, the armchair analyst. We know him. We love him. You probably followed him on Twitter all night long. And Marlon Hairston, you know him from the Colorado Rapids. Guys, let's just get right into the hotline because it was flowing all night long. 401-206-0MLS. Call us or text us. We have a call right now.
Oh, baby! Zach Steffen! Rewrite that 24 under 24.
Oh.
We have a new number one.
Oh, Zach Steffen, a new number one. He didn't even make 24 under 24, and he ends up playing hero.
He was amazing.
He did. Miguel Miron was number one. He did not take a penalty as Atlanta United crash out. They did not make it past the knockout round. We will get to the Eastern Conference in just a little bit, but first I want to show you guys the bracket at home because this is where we stand after the knockout round. 4 games, 9 goals on the first night, no goals in regulation on the second night. Lucky for us, Vicente Sanchez pulled it off in the 94th minute, and here you see it, Doyle. Out in the West, the Timbers will go against the Houston Dynamo, then Cascadia matchup in Seattle and Vancouver. And then in the East, Toronto, perhaps the best team in MLS history. They're chasing that cup, though, against the Red Bulls, and NYCFC against Columbus Crew SC. This thing shook out 2 quote-unquote upsets. 2 road teams getting the victories, which is against the odds in MLS. Yeah. But here we are. We're into the conference semifinals.
Yeah, and I don't feel like there's a team there that didn't earn it. Clearly, Houston were the better team tonight against Sporting KC, and what Columbus did sort of speaks for itself. I think a ton of credit obviously goes to Zach Steffen. A ton of credit should go to Greg Berhalter for having that team prepared to go into Atlanta and play that type of game, which mistake-free at the back. They matched Atlanta's energy, and they went out and they got the result that they needed. But let's get back to this guy. Vicente Sanchez, as you said, the hero on the night. Albert Ellis, the night's only goal. Jimmy Medranda, not a defender. This is heartbreaking for Sporting KC.
Yeah, that Jimmy Medranda play there, that's the beginnings of a meme. He is sliding to nowhere, and then the best defense in the league leaves.
Marlon, you played with Sanchez,
alone.
right?
Yeah.
You said you'd seen that move from him before.
Yeah, I've seen him pull out a trick or two once or twice before. I played with him for a couple of years, so I knew once he was able to come into the game, he was going to be able to make an instant impact.
And there was no reaction from the Sporting KC defenders in the box. Iko Parra lunges, tries to make a play on it, but Ilya Sanchez just watches it right by him. Doesn't close down on Albert Ellis at all. Graham Zusi's a little late getting there. I didn't see as much desperation from Sporting as I expected to, given the stakes of this game and what they're supposed to be getting out of this group.
But it was, a tale of 2-0-0, very different 0-0 regulations
different ends of the spectrum, right?
in both matches. But I got to give Houston a lot of credit. They came out at the beginning of that overtime and were flying. They had a chance in the first minute. Elise missed it, kind of rushed his chance a little bit. And I remember there was a moment with Cabrera who he looks at him and he's kind of like telling him to stay in the moment. And when Sanchez comes and gets the ball across, I thought he almost missed the chance. The moment it almost passed, but takes the extra touch, gets it out from under his feet, and gets the game winner. That was big from Houston.
Look, this was not a pretty game. Nobody will sit here and try to convince you as such. This game at times had us all just kind of head in hand saying somebody, anybody, make a difference, find a way. But as Simon Borg said, and he admonished us, he said, guys, you should be entertained right now because it's all about one thing. It's all about moving on. And Marlon, last year, no offense, man, the Colorado Rapids, it wasn't always pretty. It wasn't about being pretty. It was about getting results. If you're in that locker room right now in Houston, you're slapping hands, you're cool, you're good to go, you're feeling right.
Yeah, that's the best feeling you want to have. No matter how you get the job done, you want to get the job done. And they were able to do that at home against a Kansas City team that I thought were going to have the edge.
By the way, Kansas City, 4 straight years in the knockout round, 4 straight years on the road, 4 straight defeats. We will get to them in just a little bit. Let's go to the interview right now. Wilmer Cabrera is with our own Mackenzie Thurkill in Houston.
Thanks, Andrew Wilmer. A very defensive match, but your guys were able to pull it out. What can you say about this team and the resiliency of them?
It's been very positive. They've been understanding, working together. We've been working for each other, and the discipline and the commitment of the team. It's been outstanding, and right now it's a good momentum for us. We have a very tough match against a very good opponent, but we never changed the way we play. And I think that's the credit for them, credit for our players. And we could have finished with more goals, but it is one is good enough to go to the next round, and we're going to continue pushing.
Now, in your first season as head coach for the Dynamo, not only did you make it to the knockout round, but you're now going to the Western Semi-Conference Finals. What is this emotion like for you right now?
Well, it's that this was my personal goal as a coach, and I have to give credit to the executive, to the ownership members for the confidence. They gave me the confidence, and obviously the staff. We've been working very tough, very hard, and I really appreciate that confidence and that support, because with that support, we've been able to work very good throughout the season. So it's not like we just changed something right now. We've been working throughout the season, and throughout the season, we've been working well. We only went down from the playoff line 1 week, and that showed the consistency and the balance of the team. We're getting better, of course, but we were a new team. We were building, so it takes time.
Well, thank you so much, and congratulations, Coach.
Thank you very much.
Guys.
Yeah, you could tell he's pretty stoked on what they have built. And they did it pretty quick. This was a team that had been moribund for 3 or 4 years, and they discovered something this year. I think the defense ended up being a lot better than I thought it would be, but give credit to him for keeping that attack fresh and rotating it. I thought it was going to be their Achilles heel. I was especially upset when Mauro Manotas didn't start. But
didn't even play with four subs.
With four subs. I was going to light Wilmer Cabrera up if they lost this game. But he pressed all the right buttons, and they're getting, this is farther than anybody thought they were going to go this year.
Absolutely. You see both coaches gesturing here. This was a game that was a matter of inches at times. Neither team producing the chances needed to get to that point. Remember, the Hot Take Hotline is open 401-2060-MLS. Your texts, your calls are coming through. We have so much from folks in Kansas City. Gabe in KC says, glad that Dwyer money came in handy. Okay. ... Next year, shout out to General Sal, by the way. So your Cats, even in absentia, are getting some shout out here. We have a call as well. Let's hear it now.
Hey, this is Sean from the Houston area.
What's up, Sean?
Let's go Dynamo. We're back in the playoffs, and we're back on the run. I think Rico was a little bit lucky not to get sent off, but hey, need a little bit of luck breaks here and there. Let's go Dynamo.
There you have it. Look, it's the playoffs.
Yeah.
Rico Clark knows he can push the envelope just a little bit, but I want to turn it back to KC because we're going to talk all about the Houston Dynamo and this Portland matchup in the coming days. And, of course, that game is coming up very soon on Monday night, 9:30 or 10 p.m. Eastern. It depends so far, but no, it's Monday night. It's the nightcap on FS1 TSN and TVA Sports. Sporting Kansas City, it's just filling up. You are texting us all and you're saying, time to go shopping, time to spend that Dwyer money, time to get some quality. Because if you look at this team, Doyle, those 4 straight years, all marked by something a little bit similar. They went out and reinforced. It just wasn't good enough to compete. And in the end, I think that's the issue.
Well, it was good enough to compete, but they never signed a guy who could put that core group over the top. And the discussion around this team every year is, we won an Open Cup. Does that mean it's a successful season? And my stance as someone, I was a fan for a long time, and now I've been a journalist for a long time in this league. Yes, anytime you win a major trophy, whether it's the Shield, Open Cup, MLS Cup, it's a successful season, especially because they did get into the playoffs on top of it. It's not like they lucked into the Cup. They were a good team all year. But the problem is, Sporting Kansas City go shopping every year, and they spend money on guys who are supposed to take this core group and put them over the top. And Matt Beasler, Graham Zusi, Seth Sinovic, Roger Espinoza, Benny Feilhaber, they've been so good there for so long. But none of the guys they have brought in, whether it's Diego Rubio, or Latif Blessing, or Gerso, or whoever you want to name, Ilie Sanchez, who just watched the ball go right by him on the goal tonight, none of those guys have been that kind of difference maker. There's not an Albert Ellis who they have brought in. And the problem is not with that core group. The problem is with the scouting department at Sporting Kansas City not being able to identify overseas targets who can make that difference.
What they have should be enough to get through a first-round match against an inexperienced Houston team. Benny Feilhaber, Matt Beasler, Opara, Graham Suzy, Espinoza, all these names, that should be enough to be able to get through this group. Now, all they need is a couple guys to chip in with a timely goal here and there. And we've seen them do that throughout their run through the Open Cup, whether it's Jaloui, Gerso, Diego Rubio. Now, they didn't get it done tonight, but when I look at who's to blame here, to me, it's that core of players.
I'm going to go in then. Do you think it's, look, Benny Feilhaber, not the player he was 2 years ago. That's fair. Matt Beasler, Graham Zusi, Roger Espinoza, all on the other side of 30. Is this team going to break up in the offseason? You don't have to answer this, Marlon, because you're still in the league. But I'm
going to come and jump in here as well. It's not just about identification of players. It's about the profile of player that you're able to attract based on the money that you're willing to spend. And if you look around this league and you look at the teams that are still alive in the Western Conference playoffs, Nico Ladero, Clint Dempsey, even a guy like Jordan Morris on the Vancouver Whitecaps side, Freddie Montero, they go out and pay millions of dollars for him this offseason to get the difference maker.
Jordy Reyna.
And what does he do? He makes the difference.
This club does not fit that profile. There's different clubs in different places in the league, and this club basically sold their top player, their only goal threat, consistently in Dom Dwyer for $1.6 million, of course, an allocation that they are planning on mortgaging their future with. Now, the fact that they're still able to be competitive and give themselves a chance to get a trophy, as they did, and be able to, after he left, I should add, and then continue to give themselves a chance in the playoffs, to me, that's where Sporting Kansas City is.
But do you have any confidence that as this group ages out, as this core group ages out,
you got to replace them.
The people in charge are going to be able to identify a high level? I mean, even look at the back line. Ike Opara is going to win Defender of the Year this year, and he should. But they pulled him off the scrap heap. This wasn't, they kicked over stones in Europe and found a great young talent. This was a guy who everybody knew was talented and just happened to be broken in San Jose, and now they've gotten him healthy and he's playing to it. But, you can't count on that. And I just don't, from what I've seen from Sporting Kansas City, I don't have any confidence that they're going to be able to replace Benny Feilhaber, that they're going to be able to replace Matt Beasler as those guys age and become sub-elite players in this league. And I think we've seen that start to happen.
Now, look, before we get to Marlon here, and I got to ask you what it feels like for Sporting from that really personal standpoint of losing this game and ending their season. What I will say is when you bring on Lobato, when you bring on Oliveira, those aren't difference makers. And I'm with you, Kaylin. This core should be able to compete. They should be able to move on to that next round and have something to play for in a two-legged series. Have a home game. The flip side is this league is changing. This league is not the same league it was in 2013 when you were able to go win that title in a little bit of a different way, and Peter Vermees was able to build in that manner. There comes a time where if you want to compete at the top of the Western Conference and you want to compete with Diego Valeri's of the world, even the Fernando Adis of the world, they may have to loosen the purse strings just a little bit.
But look at Marlon's team last year. They didn't go out and spend. Now they brought in
but was it sustained?
Tim Howard.
Was it sustained?
They brought in Tim Howard and Jermaine Jones, too, which is a bigger signing than we've seen other teams make, and in Colorado specifically in the past. But I think if you have a strong defense and a strong core, that's going to give you a chance in the playoffs. And I think Tim Melia being gone tonight, although it didn't quite show up on the goal, it helps having someone behind you that you have that confidence, that rhythm.
Do they win this game if they have Dom Dwyer still?
I think you got to give Houston credit in this one. I think they did enough to get the win.
All right, Marlon, tell me a little bit about how it feels as a player. We're sitting here talking about moves. We're saying in the offseason they got to do something. This is ultimately, these are jobs. These are people's livelihoods. It's their lives. It's where they live. It's where they do their business. Do you pay attention to this stuff as the season starts to turn? In Sporting KC's locker room, are they sitting around saying, will we be back next year? How do we reinforce?
Yeah, it's tough going into this game. You know that if you're on a team like Kansas City, you know that you have enough pieces to get to the next round. So I think in that locker room right now, it's a bit of sadness. It's a long off season. And you're always thinking of, what went wrong, and how did it go wrong, and some of the things that you could have done to, fix those things. So I think it's some sad faces in their locker room right now, but I think they'll come back next year and pick up where they left off.
Yeah, still flooding through the Hot Take Hotline. 401-206-0MLS. As we've said multiple times, it bears repeating. A lot of MLS fan bases, a lot of MLS teams would give an awful lot to be in the same position as Sporting Kansas City.
And they're
4
in that
trophies
same
over 6
position
years.
every year.
Playoffs year after year after year. But yes, when you're there, it weighs on you when you go out in the first round. Tyler Derrick is basically a lifer with the Houston Dynamo. He hasn't seen a ton of success, but he's in the starting lineup now. He got a big win in the knockout round. Our own Mackenzie Thurko is with him right now.
Thanks, Andrew. Tyler, you get a clean sheet in your first playoff game. You're also a homegrown player for the Houston Dynamo. What is this moment like for you right now?
It's massive, but the whole team put in the effort tonight. The subs that came in, everybody came in and put in the work that was needed to be done to win the game. We didn't do the first 90, but we knew that overtime was a possibility, and we were ready for that. So, give credit to all the guys in front of me. They worked really hard tonight, and it was just it was a great performance by everyone.
It's another quick turnaround for you guys. On Monday night, you will host the number 1 seed in the Western Conference, the Portland Timbers. What can we expect from that match, and what are some of the problems that they'll present you?
A lot like tonight, a lot of possession in their game, a lot of dangerous attackers. So, we're going to be organized and compact and tough to beat like we were tonight.
Thank you so much, Tyler. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Guys, back to you.
Time to take a rest, maybe hit the ice bath, recover, because they've got that big game on Monday night, the first leg of the Western Conference semifinals. Houston Dynamo hosting the Portland Timbers on Monday. FS1, TSN, and TVA Sports. It will be the nightcap. Also, New York and Toronto will play earlier that night. Let's switch to the Eastern Conference, guys. You mentioned that kind of disparity between 0-0 draws. The opening game of the night, Atlanta and Columbus, was maybe the best 0-0 draw I've ever seen in my life. It was an incredible game. It was enthralling. It was entertaining. It had attacking soccer, flowing soccer, and it had the home team in front of 67,221 fans, a playoff record in MLS, losing in penalty kicks. An absolute gut punch, Marlon. Atlanta United came into this game flying high. They were hyped up. They had their big players. It didn't happen. What Crew SC did and what Zach Steffen did, this is a huge moment for this club.
Yeah, he was huge for them all night. He made save after save and kept this Columbus Crew team in it. And, Columbus came out, they started the game very strong. And that's what you have to do against a really good Atlanta team. And credit to them. They're able to go to the next round because of it.
Yeah, as you said, they came out strong. They came out, with a purpose and with organization. They weren't afraid to try to build. And I thought that they were going to actually play in more of a shell. But instead, Artur came out. He was the best field player for either team. I thought he dominated central midfield. Will Trapp had a really clean game. The mistake that Jonathan Mensah made when he whiffed on that one clearance didn't kill him. The woodwork came to their rescue. You knew he had one mistake in him, but that wasn't going to get him. This impressed the hell out of me from Columbus. I did not think they had it in them. And honestly, they were probably the better team on the night. They had a goal wrongly disallowed for offside. Brad Guzan had a couple spectacular saves himself. Had to.
11 out of 11 on the field. Every guy had a good game. And even beyond that, the 3 subs they came on, 2 of them scored penalty kicks. So you got to give Berhalter a ton of credit for pulling the right strings. We thought if there was maybe a chance for them to get through, but holding Atlanta United scoreless at home in front of 67,000, you would never have guessed that. So you got to give this team so much credit, a gutsy performance. To go down on the road against all odds, none of us saw.
Yeah, look, and it was full of narratives. This game, so much drama, so much to talk about. Of course, Atlanta United, their opening season, yada, yada, yada. We've heard it all. This was the expansion team that was supposed to make history, and yet Frank Klopas is sending text messages late at night to Paul Tenorio saying, still the 1998 Fire. They're the only expansion team to win that MLS Cup. It fell a little bit flat in a sense, because I think at home with this opportunity, they expected to go through, and Tata Martino said as much. We wanted to be there. On the flip side, Crew SC, we know all about Save the Crew. We know all about all the stuff in the news right now with Austin and a potential move and a stadium downtown. The result, Doyle, this all just kind of came together, and it became one of the instant classics, I think, of the MLS Cup playoffs.
I mean, it feels a little bit like Team of Destiny with Columbus. I am sure that most neutrals are out there rooting for the Crew to get it done all the way to MLS Cup. It'd be an amazing story. It'll be interesting to see what that crowd brings to the field next week in Columbus. But I want to go back to Atlanta. And you mentioned the 98 Fire. Atlanta actually reminds me of a different 1998 team, that great Galaxy team that just went out there and they pounded bad teams. If they could score 6 or 7 on you, they would. They would just drop the hammer. But then when they met up against better teams, they struggled. They struggled with DC United that year. They struggled with Chicago that year. This Atlanta team went on that run where they had 8 games at home in 24 days. I think 7 of those games were against sub-playoff teams. And they scored 4 on the Galaxy and 7 on New England and all, and everybody went nuts because this is the best team in the league. But then when they played stiffer competition, they struggled. And that's what happened tonight with Columbus. Columbus didn't back down. They weren't intimidated. They went toe-to-toe. Better team advanced.
I mean, from a player's perspective, Marlon, you watch this game, you have to be thinking, these are the games you want to play in. This is what I want to be a part of. You know, what did you see in this from Crew SC? Their perseverance. And on the flip side, Atlanta, they were tears on the field after this game. Their expectations were such that by losing this, it really, really hit them where it counts.
Yeah, I mean, from the first whistle, this game was, it was a thriller. The game opened up right away. Both teams created numerous amount of chances, and Columbus, they pushed some people forward. And I think Higuain had a good chance off a header from across from Santos. And a couple other big chances, Kakuta on the break hit the post, and ultimately Zach Steffen keeping them in the game for a long period of time, gave them a big chance to win.
Oh, wow, what a save this is right here. You see McCann coming up and striking it well with his left foot. This was Zach Steffen's coming out party. You heard it on the Hot Take Hotline. People are wondering, why didn't this dude make 24 under 24? He is just 22 years old, and we're already seeing calls for him to be a part of this U.S. team against Portugal in just a few weeks. Kaylin, this is one of those performances on the big stage where all of a sudden your profile goes from here to here and the opportunities start flooding in as well.
Yeah, I mean, you can see here on this tweet here, I haven't seen in a couple of years, Steffen is the best keeper prospect the U.S. men's national team has. Now, it's easy to say that, the boss. Come on.
Right now, right after the big
right away. Yeah, retweet yourself a couple months ago. No, I think, Steffen was great, but I think this is more about the team for Columbus Crew SC. And I don't normally give it up to the managers always in the playoffs because I think it comes down to the players on the field. But I do have to point out, I think Berhalter had a great strategy. They didn't bunker, but they also didn't give any space behind. I thought Mensah and Williams were compact, only allowed some outside shots to start the match, and then kind of built out from there. All of his substitutions worked. I thought Kakuta Mane coming into the game really changed the match, was able to really push the other team back on their heels. And to hold them scoreless, I keep reiterating it. I could have never imagined it, and you can't just say, oh, it was unlucky because they hit the post, because Columbus hit the post too multiple times. Columbus Crew SC, I can't say enough about that.
Could have ended 4-3, man.
Yeah, it could have.
Really good.
And he's trying to tamp down this Zach Steffen star-building exercise we got going on here. This kid is good. He's really, really good, folks, and our own Susanna Collins is with him in Atlanta.
Thanks, guys. Zach, just an absolutely thrilling game. I lost track of how many saves you actually made tonight and how many times the ball hit the crossbar. How are you so locked in tonight? Perfect! This is perfect. This is live TV. This is what happened. Absolutely well-deserved. How are you so locked in tonight?
I mean, it was my first playoff game. And it was on ESPN, too. So, I mean, I had to get up for it in front of 70,000 plus fans. It was amazing.
When you realized that this game was going to go down to penalties, what is the mindset? Take me through your thought process.
Just breathe and take one penalty at a time. As long as the guys put them in, I would. As long as I would get 1 or 2, we would be all right.
Knowing the adversity that's kind of going around with the club right now, to get this win in a knockout round, to move on, what does it mean to your team? What does it mean to the Columbus fans?
No, this means everything. This win in front of their home fans at home, they beat us twice in season, and they beat us good. So we wanted to come down in here and make a statement, and we wanted to do it for Columbus.
NYCFC is up next. What do you like about this matchup between these two teams?
I mean, we have a decent record against them this year, and we're going to be ready for the home game, and it's going to be fun.
Just an amazing performance. Congratulations, Zach. Enjoy it. Guys.
Thanks, Susanna. Going back to Columbus, a really big game for Crew SC, considering everything involved. That one's on Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern, ESPN, TSN, and TVA Sports. Crew SC against NYCFC, a rematch from Decision Day. Should be a good one. Matt, I want to talk about how the Crew got this done. We didn't see goals, but as you mentioned, Kaylin, balls were smacking the posts. There were a lot of chances, and so many of those were built from the wings on both sides. Hector Villalba, I thought, had a very, very good game for Atlanta, but Pedro Santos, a guy that we haven't really seen the best of yet, had a not so good first half, and turned it around in the second.
Yeah, I mean, and we're still looking for that end product from him, but we saw what he could do as a playmaker, cutting in off the wing, getting the ball on his left foot. And, here's the map up here. You can see him on the right. Those white arrows, those are key chances. Those are chances that lead to shots. And you see he's putting them into the 6-yard box. It was that Higuain header that Marlon mentioned. There were a couple others. Villalba on the right, I think, stayed a little wider and tried to get deeper. And what the Crew did so well was once he got that deep, they did not let him make decisive plays. Now, when he cut inside a little bit, he was dangerous. But usually, Villalba, he's getting around the edge and he's roasting you, and that never happened for them.
Excuse me, Marlon, how do you get kind of acclimated on the wings in this league? You're a guy that's gone back and forth, but when you see these guys do their business and create chances, what do you notice? What's special about what they did? You're a guy who does it on your own.
Yeah, consistency. You want to be able to get the ball as much as you can and face up. Both of these guys seem like they're 1v1 players, and Villalba got the ball. He was active all game, and he tried to face up as much as he could. And he had some decent chances that he created for his team, but I like Santos in the second half, what he was able to create, come inside, link up, play with Higuain. It was great.
Jimenez did a good job on him, though, early. Got the yellow card, and then they brought in Raitala as well to do some work. I saw as the game went on, Atlanta United seemed to get a little frustrated.
Yep.
And they waited a little bit too long at times and tried to do things a little bit on their own with some hopeful shots instead of playing the way they've played all year, which is sharing the ball and being dynamic in the attack.
They were generating shots from outside the 18. By the last 40 minutes of that game, they were just letting fly from outside the 18 every time instead of working for that good chance in the box the way that Joseph Martinez has gotten 19 goals already.
And look, this is a momentum game for them, right? We've seen them at home. When they get that first goal, when they get that early goal, they stick it on you because all of a sudden space opens up. You've got to try to go push a little bit, and you've got to take some chances, and Cressy never had to do that. They understood that if they just played it a little bit of safe, spread them out, avoided that pressure, which we saw in the pregame show that Hector Villalba took advantage of, they'd have an opportunity in this one. We know the stakes for Crew SC. They're moving on to the next round. MLS Cup is still a possibility for them. On the flip side, Atlanta United, their big first season goes down in just one playoff game. It's a disappointment, no doubt about it. How much of a disappointment do you think, Marlon? I
think this game goes down as a big disappointment for them. Like I said, this moment is something that you work hard for all season, and to go out on your first playoff night is tough, and I'm sure it'll be a long off season, but it definitely hurts.
Greg Berhalter, it's not over for him. Mm-hmm. He spoke after this game. Let's hear what the victorious coach had to say.
How to make the five. We've been practicing penalty shots for the whole week, and you see the guys, you see how they handle the moment in training of when they get called on, and you make a decision. I think this time it turned out to be a good one, but you never know in penalty shootouts. Something that their coach and I talked about was it was an excellent game. I think both sides put a lot into it, and when you get to penalties, anything can happen.
All right, Marlon, let's have a little players-only chat for a minute.
All right.
Coming down to the mentality of the penalty kick, what is going through your mind when you get to that final moment?
You're just trying to clear your mind from fatigue at that moment. If you're a starter and playing 120 minutes, it's tough on your legs because you've played, at that tempo that they were playing. It was a fast-paced game and, a back and forth. And you kind of just want to take a second and breathe and relax and before you step up to the spot, just try to have your mind made up and figure out where you want to go.
You guys won 120 minutes last year against the Galaxy. How important is it for you guys to have that goalkeeper in behind you, as we saw with Stefan tonight, and you guys have Howard, of course?
Yeah, Tim was big time for us. Coming into that game, we knew that it was going to be a tough game against the LA Galaxy team. And we knew that if we win 120 minutes, we were going to give ourselves a chance to win in penalties. And credit to Tim. He made some big saves for us.
Were you surprised to see Noel Miron step up on that first penalty for Atlanta United?
Yeah, I was. Honestly, I was surprised to see Martinez come off before it even went to penalties. And I was surprised to see Almiron not step up and take one because you kind of want to start the shootout on the right foot, and you probably want your biggest players taking the first ones.
We saw Higuain step up and with a little chip down the middle to start. I think that gives their team a little bit of confidence. And I also think, of course, with Stefan, last week actually saving David Villa's had to help him leading into a big match like this.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that gave him a ton of confidence, having saved that against one of the league's biggest scorers, and to come and do that again tonight, that was huge for him, and I'm sure his players were already confident in him going into that shootout.
Well, big night for him and Stefan and Crew SC. Weeby, what's going on over the board?
I don't know, man. Players only. I feel a little bit jealous. It's pundits only now over here. We're looking at the bracket because this is what is next. The knockout round is over. It all gets started on Sunday, Vancouver, Seattle, 8:30 p.m. Eastern, ESPN, TSN, TVA Sports. As you can see here, the West is set. The East is set. Cascadia, got a little rivalry going down here. And we got the possibility, Doyle, for a rivalry in the East. Now, we would have to see an upset. A huge one, in fact. Red Bull's going through. But I want to start to pick your brain here and look ahead towards the conference finals and maybe even MLS Cup.
I just want to say, you just disrespected Trillium Cup. Let's remember the ages-old rivalry between Columbus and Toronto
that
FC.
Age-old rivalry that could play out on the biggest stage in the 2017 Audi MLS Cup playoffs. Let's start with something fresh here. Portland, Houston.
Yeah.
Advantage who right now? Do you have a gut feeling? I mean, all year long, the Western Conference hasn't had a clear number one.
They haven't, but Portland's been playing well down the stretch, and they have a match winner in Diego Valeri. And what I think they do is go to Houston, play for the 0-0, and say, all right, if Houston gets stretched out at all, we're going to hit them on the break. We're going to get that goal from Valeri or Blanco, and we're going to get that road goal. I mean, the road goal is what matters in these series right now.
And that's a great point. Road goals will be in effect for these two-legged series. That can matter an awful lot. We know Diego Valeri is the man for this team, and they've got experience in this stage. I think they move on as well. Drag them over for me. Cascadia, on the other hand, this one's a little bit, I don't know, guys. It's a little bit iffy for me because you have the Whitecaps that were there. The Sounders have been up and down. They don't have Clint Dempsey in the first leg. You guys feeling anything about this game, Kalen, Marlon?
I think the Sounders are the stronger team of the two, so that's where I would go.
Yeah, I'm going with Sounders also. I'd like to see a Portland Seattle Western Conference final.
No Dempsey in that first game, but it should be a good one Sunday.
We're ignoring a team that just
Eastern,
won 5-0, by the way.
TV. I know. But look, that team, set pieces. And I think Roman Torres and Chad Marshall can do a job against them. Bring us into the East real quick, Matt. These are the matchups that I'm really looking forward to because, honestly, this is the conference that's got it done over the course of the year. Can I just drag Toronto over?
Yeah, do it. I love the way the Red Bulls are playing, but Toronto's just too good. I don't see a way through for New York.
All right, let's focus on this one then. Crew SC have so much to play for. They've got momentum. They've got really what is a kind of
existential crisis?
Yeah, and that's a good way of putting it. I was going to go on the positive end. Unifying moment. Existential crisis is another way to put it. Do they have a chance against NYCFC?
They absolutely have a chance against NYCFC because NYCFC have not been able to score over the last month and a half, almost 2 months. Columbus, on the other hand, we saw them get a good result in New York last week. We saw them get a very good result tonight in Atlanta. They're not going to be intimidated by anything. I'm picking the Crew to go through, man.
I am too. Something feels right. Trillion Cup, that definitely feels right. Columbus and New York City FC, Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern, ESPN, TSN, and TVA Sports. A reminder for everybody out there. MLS Playoff Central comes to you before and after every single playoff game this week. Doyle, it's been a fun time. We'll have you for a little while more. Thank you so much for being here. To you guys, Kalen Carr, Marlon Hairston, I am Andrew Wiebe. Make sure you hit us on the Hot Take Hotline, everybody. Enjoy your night. It's been a long night. It's been a fun night. We didn't have the goals from last night, but that is okay. And I hope your bracket's okay. That'd be good. Mine's still okay. We'll see how it turns out. Thanks for tuning with us, everybody. Have a good time.